Welcome, folks. Come on in, take a seat. You have arrived at the second annual Juneteenth celebration for the Tech Chaplaincy Institute. So glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm currently joined by Javon. I'm Shamika, and we'll have a special guest later on. But first, we just wanted to take a moment to say thanks for joining us and welcome. So we've got a couple things to go over today. We're going to start with a hello and a welcome and a grounding moment. So I invite you to take a deep breath, the deepest breath you've taken today, in and out, and then I'll welcome us back. Lovely. Thank you so much for that. All right, so today commemorates Juneteenth. Juneteenth, short for June 19th, became a federal holiday last year. We're going to share a little bit more about Juneteenth later, but today is also a special day for another reason. Today, 73 years ago on Juneteenth and Father's Day, my grandma Elaine was born one of triplets. So happy birthday, Grandma. When you watch this later, know that I love you. I called her earlier today. She's so sweet. All right, so our journey today, we're going to go through a couple of reintroductions or introductions if you haven't met us yet. We'll cover a brief history of the Tech Chaplaincy Institute. We'll have some highlights from our first 2 years. We'll talk about our plans for the future. Then we'll have some fun and games before we open up the floor to Q&A. So if you've got questions for the Tech Chaplaincy Institute, please do put them in the chat on our Facebook page here. Even if you're watching this not live, if you're watching this later, because we do have something special for those who put in comments on this video, including questions, okay? So let's get it started here with some reintroductions. So the Tech Chaplaincy Institute has 2 tech chaplains, myself and Javon Bracey. Together, we've served over 70 faith communities, mission-driven organizations, and leaders since our launch. Here's a little bit more about us individually. So myself, Shamika Klassen, the rumors are true, that is me. I am a 4th-year doctoral student in the University of Colorado Boulder's Information Science Department. I study technology, ethics, and social justice issues there. I'm also a Master of Divinity student or Master of Divinity graduate from Union Theological Seminary in the city of New York. And I did my undergrad at Stanford University, where I studied African and African American studies. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm going to throw it to Javon to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Javon Bracey. I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, and attended Xavier University of Louisiana for undergrad, where I majored in English. I also have a Master of Divinity. I went to Island School of Theology in Denver, Colorado. And I am also pursuing additional graduate study. I am in Austin, Texas right now. I just finished up my first year in a clinical mental health counseling program. It's a spiritually integrated clinically mental health counseling program at the Episcopal Theological Seminary of the Southwest. So my professional goal is to combine mental health and ministry in the work that I do and to serve people in that way. And I am excited to be here today celebrating 2 years with the Tech Chaplaincy Institute.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Javon. And I'm calling in from Boulder, Colorado. So we've got a couple folks in a couple different places for you. So next, we're going to go on to a brief history of the Tech Chaplaincy Institute. So I'm going to take folks down memory lane here a little bit. So a tech chaplain aims to train and equip mission-driven leaders, organizations, and communities with everyday digital and technological skills, which will serve to help further their work in the world. The Tech Chaplaincy Institute was founded on Juneteenth 2020 as an organization to help build healthy relationships with technology, but its history goes back even further. As a student at Union Theological Seminary in the city of New York, I began my first year in the Master of Divinity program, helping other students set up their email or their new computer. Soon, I got a reputation for being the go-to person for tech help. Eventually, so many people were coming to me asking for help, I went to the IT department to ask them if they could do drop-in hours. The director of IT, Donald Joshua, said the best thing he could have said, no, but we can pay you to keep doing what you're doing. So in my second semester, I started serving other students officially. In a conversation with adjunct professor Reverend Gregory Horn shortly thereafter, he remarked that the way I was helping students sounded like chaplaincy. I was practicing a ministry of presence with people and ushering them through difficult moments with dignity and grace. It just happened to be around technology. That's where the name Tech Chaplaincy was born. It would take a few years before I would start the organization with which I would serve other people as a tech chaplain, but I am grateful for that journey. Now we're going to move on to some highlights from our first 2 years.
Thank you, Shamika. So much of our work, all of our work actually, has been mediated through digital means. So we have a presence on all of the platforms that you see here, and we build community, engage community, and also share lots of information and connect people with resources via those means. Some of what we've done is giving tech tips. So whether it's hardware or software, helping folks to be prepared for streaming, for hosting meetings online, for podcasting, and also for mediating their own digital presence online, which it can happen through websites, through social media, and other means. In addition, we also like to share inspiration. So reminders for social emotional health, inspirational quotes, and just things that help to center people. As Shamika said, tech chaplaincy is about technology, certainly, but more than anything, it's about the human beings that we work with, about the people and communities that we seek to serve. So definitely sharing inspiration is a huge part of it. We also like to celebrate trailblazers. So whether it's Women's History Month or Black History Month, celebrating people who are trailblazers in the field of technology, who help to cultivate and create and lay the foundation for some of the technology that we use in our everyday lives, and that the faith communities and mission-driven organizations that we serve use to do the work that they do in the world. And lastly, we've collaborated with partners. So some of our partners are individuals, folks that we know who are doing great work in their corners of the world. Some of the folks that we have collaborated with are churches, individual churches and individual faith communities. We've also partnered with different conferences at theological schools like Union, conferences that host people from all across the world, and various organizations that do really good work in the world. We've partnered with to share information, to share inspiration, to uplift people, and to move people further along with regards to their technology.
Absolutely. Thank you, Javon, for that. And speaking of journeys with folks, Tech Chaplains journey alongside people and organizations to help them with their technology. In 2 years, we've journeyed with over 70 mission-driven organizations and individuals, including over 30 different faith communities within the Diocese of California alone. We've helped folks update their website, choose and learn church planning software, get started with live streaming, troubleshoot issues with email, and so much more. But that's what we've done in the past. Now let's turn to our plans for the future. I started practicing tech chaplaincy in 2014 and launched the Tech Chaplaincy Institute in 2020. Now, 2 years later, I have big news about the future of tech chaplaincy. So our big announcement is this. On September 1st of 2022, the Tech Chaplaincy Institute will close. And starting on January 2023, Tech Chaplaincy will become an offering of Learning Forte. So I'd like to introduce Stacey Williams-Duncan, and we're gonna share a little bit more about this transition, and we're gonna chat with Stacey, who's the CEO of Learning Forte here today.
Hey, Shamika.
Hey, Stacey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you on this wonderful day.
Absolutely. So I'm going to turn it over to Javon. to lead
Yeah,
us into
so
Q&A.
yeah, I'll facilitate a little bit of Q&A to help us to get some context about the new and exciting things that are happening with Tech Chaplaincy. So Shamika, you've already shared a little bit about who you are in your journey, but Stacey, if you wouldn't mind telling us who you are, what Learning Forte is, and what you do.
Great. I'm Stacey Williams-Duncan, and I'm an Episcopal priest. I've been a priest for 22 years, and about 12 years ago, I made a pretty significant shift, which is a little bit before I met Shamika. And then I went back to do some graduate work, much like where you all are now, to particularly look at educational technology. And I really went to the University of Virginia to study that, asking the question, what do other educators seem to know about the latest research and educational technology that we seemed to be missing in the Christian formation area? And so coming out of that, have done several things in the last few years, but find myself now in this really interesting creative space of serving a really small rural church a quarter time. I'm their rector 15 hours a week. And then I also started a company, Learning Forte, in order to provide expertise, particularly in the areas of change management and learning design and educational technology. Like you guys know at Tech Chaplaincy so often it's not just a technology change, it's about the change in confidence in someone's, or they're changing in their understanding of their role and their position. And Learning Forte really has tried to provide an integrated approach. What we often say is you can hire lots of experts to do any one of those things, but we've pulled together a group of experts that do all three of those things, and they all do it with the language of faith-based communities and mission-oriented nonprofits. So that's what we do. And I'm calling in today from Madison, Virginia, which is a very rural county in Virginia. So
Thank you, Stacey. I appreciate that that context and you sharing your journey as well as Learning Forte's journey. So another question for you: how did you get connected to Shamika and the Tech Chaplaincy Institute?
So I actually met Shamika along with Kyle Oliver, who's the head of learning media here at Learning Forte. Kyle introduced us, and it was early in the e-formation program as it was starting to develop at Virginia Theological Seminary. And then when I really got to know Shamika, is we had a grant from the Association of Theological Schools to develop some digital learning resources for seminary professors to use. And Shamika came on as one of our content creators. And that's been 6 or 7 years ago. So it's been a while. And then as Learning Forte grew, I reached back out to Shamika and continued to lean into her expertise, particularly around issues of justice and how digital course creators need to be aware of that.
Awesome. So specifically moving towards talking a little bit about this transition that we're all on the brink of, what made you want to acquire the Tech Chaplaincy Institute?
Well, I think it's really important to know that when we started this conversation 6 or 7 months ago, we weren't sure what it would look like. Shamika and I started a conversation that was grounded, for me at least, in this idea that here are these two organizations that share so many similar values. And I just had this sense that we were supposed to work together. And it was a really open-ended conversation. And that's how it started, was just saying to Shamika, okay, I think we're supposed to work together somehow. What's best for you? What does that look like for you? What might you want it to look like? And I hope Shamika's experience of the journey together too was one of us constantly saying to each other, okay, this is a crazy idea, but what about this? And then backing off of it and reforming it. And we did that 2 or 3 times until we came to the place of talking together about how Learning Forte might acquire, integrate into our culture and all our offerings, the Tech Chaplaincy piece. I was a school chaplain for 8 years, and so chaplaincy is deep in my bones. And so the fact that this has been how Shamika has approached and you have approached working with people from the very first time I heard about the launch 2 years ago, I thought, oh, they've got it right there. that that's exactly the right format that we want to provide tech help and tech support in. And so I really always have valued that. And I also have a little bit of a prayer that us doing this will allow the tech chaplaincy to continue and to grow and flourish, and will allow Shamika to do the research that I think will help all of us transform our understanding of technology across diverse contexts. So I hope that she looks back on this and sees it as a freeing moment, a both and moment.
So we definitely want to hear Shamika's perspective as well, and how she has perceived this whole process, and what went into the decision to make this leap.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Javon. And thank you so much for your kind response, Stacey. So for myself, when I met Stacey, I was already sort of enthralled by someone who had similar ideas about faith and faith communities and technology and whatnot. So we clicked very quickly. And I had a blast working on the content for the ministry tools that we worked on. They're still available online. I actually did see them recently, and it was such a great blessing to be able to take this class assignment that I did in seminary and show folks how they can incorporate digital humanities into seminary education. So that was already sort of an opening and a collaboration that we did that really excited me. So a couple of years later, when Stacey approached me about this idea of how can we bring tech chaplaincy into the work that we do at Learning Forte, I was very intrigued and was so excited to have that conversation. And one of the things that really helped me feel very comfortable and confident in this transition, in this process, was how much Stacey really took the time to say, I want this to be something that makes sense for both of us, but especially for you. I want to honor what you've built, and I want to really take it forward in a way that is considerate of what you've done, and making sure that our legacy, our history, the way that we do things is all incorporated and moves forward with this transition. So I felt very heard, I felt very seen, and I felt very grateful that this opportunity between us came to be. So I'm very excited to see what happens with tech chaplaincy in the hands of Learning Forte.
Thank you, Shamika. You mentioned a little bit about the honoring the legacy, honoring what tech chaplaincy has been. And so the next question for Stacey is, how are you looking to honor the legacy of the Tech Chaplaincy Institute, especially as an organization that was founded and led by Black people, mainly Black women?
So there are a couple of really concrete things, and then a couple of things that both Shamika and Giovanna will be looking for you to help me with, and even in the next 6 months or year. One of those is that we plan to be right back here on Juneteenth the next year, and to really honor Juneteenth as a piece of a time in which at Learning Forte, we intentionally take some of our energy and efforts to look at the intersection of digital technology, digital courses, and diverse and underserved communities. And so this will start to become a conversation that we have every year at this point. And it's really interesting because we had a conversation internally about how much more relevant that feels to us than just doing it during Black History Month. And it's not that we won't honor those things during Black History Month and honor people doing digital ministry that are people of color during that time, but that this is a unique piece, and this is another time to maybe be in that conversation and be a voice that says it doesn't, it's got to be a conversation we're having all the time. And so that's one thing, is that a really concrete way that we've committed as a company to maintain this Juneteenth piece of the culture. Another piece is that we really see reaching out to seminarians as to be our tech chaplains. We're hoping to spend the fall recruiting those tech chaplains. And so, I'll be looking out to both of you to reach out to people at your seminaries and your places where you've been, because we hope that serving as tech chaplains could be a way for seminarians to support themselves financially in hours that are mostly going to happen probably in the evenings, or later afternoon evenings, but also that'll be a little bit more financially beneficial than work study jobs in most seminaries, because they're usually pretty low pay. to do that, but also in that process that we are explicitly going to seek out and recruit seminarians of color and seminarians that represent other diverse and underrepresented populations, because in our experience, it's a little harder for them to get some of the traditional funding that might be available. And so that will be another way in which we actively do this and make a real commitment to that. And so I think that that's an important piece for us.
Thank you for that. And I can't speak for Shamika. I think when I say that, we're excited about that, and I'm excited to continue to work with you in that regard as well. So is there anything else you want to share about how you foresee the future of tech chaplaincy in the hands of Learning Forte?
Well, I think the last thing I wanted to say is people may be wondering about the gap between September and January. And a piece of that is, as much as anything, for two reasons. One, there will be some commitments we're helping to fulfill in September, October, November, December. So a few clients that Tech Chaplaincy Institute has that we'll continue to support. But the other piece of that is really, we want to do this well. And so we looked out to when we were confident our capacity would allow that to be launched well. And so that gives us the fall to help recruit those people that'll be the tech chaplains. It lets us then launch that in a time in which we can really support it. We'll continue some of the things that Tech Chaplaincy's done. People will be able to purchase blocks of time and sessions, and that'll be, purchase a few more hours and you get a discount. But it'll also be available along with our Learning Forte Learning Hub resources. And so people will be able to log in through that and access tech chaplains there too. So we're hoping that that all fits together, and that the January launch is really just to make sure that we can do it well.
Awesome. And from the flip side, same question for you, Shamika. What are your hopes for the future of tech chaplaincy in the hands of Learning Forte?
Yes. So one of the things that I've been very hopeful for, even before Stacey came to me about this opportunity, was seeing tech chaplaincy reach beyond just myself and then even you, Javon, but see more and more people have access to tech chaplaincy training so that they themselves can be considered tech chaplains, and then take these skills to faith communities and take these skills to other mission-driven organizations who need a tech chaplain. So by replicating the work that we've put together through tech chaplaincy, I see that opportunity spreading throughout various faith communities across denominations, across the United States, and maybe even across the world one day. I just have that vision that this is something that is so needed in so many places. I've heard that from so many clients who they find out who we are and what we do, and they're just floored. They're so grateful. They're excited. And I'm so happy to see that this is something that's going to not only continue, but I believe it's going to flourish in the hands of Learning Forte. So I'm very grateful, and I'm very excited about the future.
Awesome. As Shamika alluded to earlier, if you have any questions for Shamika, for me, for Stacey, for Learning Forte, for Tech Chaplaincy, if you are curious about anything that we've discussed or anything that we have not discussed, definitely feel free to put those things in the comments on the video, and we will do our best to address those in the best way we can. So now we want to transition. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, and we're going to transition to some fun and games. So what we have here are trivia questions. Shamika is going to help me out by looking at the comments on the Facebook video. So if you know the answer to the question, feel free to drop it in the comments as we continue to move along. There's a little bit of variety in the questions about various things. So yeah, here we go. The first question: what year was the Tech Chaplaincy Institute founded? So we have three choices, three possibilities: 2010, 2017, and 2020.
Okay, I'm watching the chat. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so we'll give folks a second. Okay, I don't see any responses yet, but I think we can reveal the answer.
All right, the answer is 2020, which, math was not my favorite subject. This is our second anniversary, so there we go. There we go. All right, next question. Where was Tech Chaplaincy formed? The first response, possibility, Union Theological Seminary, Island School of Theology, or University of Colorado.
I think we're good to reveal.
The answer is Union Theological Seminary. So as we have introduced ourselves, all of these school names have come up as they are schools that either Shamika or I have attended. But at Union is where Shamika began to do the work of Tech Chaplaincy. Next question. Tech Chaplaincy uses the best practices of what to serve people? The Geek Squad, Chaplaincy and Pastoral Care, or Human Resources?
I love this question, but you can go ahead and reveal.
All right, the answer is Chaplaincy and Pastoral Care. So as Shamika has said, and as I have tried to reiterate as well, human-centered, people-centered, the journey that we are taking with people is one of the most important elements. The tech is a part of it, of course, making sure that people are comfortable doing what they're and equipped to do what they're supposed to be doing. But chaplaincy and pastoral care being the heart of the journey is what Tech Chaplaincy is all about. All right, so moving on to a little bit of a different topic. What state first celebrated Juneteenth? Texas, Colorado, New York, or Louisiana?
This is another good question. I'm very proud of the answer for those who know me, know where I'm from. Go for it, Devon.
The answer is Texas. So I am reporting live from Texas. So yes, Texas was the first, was the place where Juneteenth was first celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get a little bit more specific. Which city first celebrated Juneteenth in Texas?
Oh, Jennifer Strait is entered the chat. Jennifer Strait says A, Austin.
All right. Let's see. So we have Austin, Dallas, Houston, and Galveston.
So here, Jennifer actually says D. So I think A was the response to
the previous question. Yes.
Yeah. So Jennifer
is correct. That is correct.
Yes, go Jennifer.
Galveston, Texas was the site of the first celebration of Juneteenth. All right. Another question about Juneteenth. What year was Juneteenth first celebrated? 1863, 1865, or 1965?
All right, I'm rooting for you, Jennifer. Getting 3 in a row. Let's see. She says 1865. Let's see.
And that is correct. 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued.
On a streak.
Yeah. All right, so shifting to another subject matter. What percentage of the world population uses internet? So the internet is used by what percentage of people throughout the world? 25%, 66%, 82%, or 99%?
Okay, so I think Jennifer might be thinking about it. Let's see.
This one is, a little harder, a little.
It is.
Very, very random fact that you may or may not know, but you may be able to find a way to work into conversation that 66% of the world population uses the internet moving forward.
Absolutely.
All right, next question. Comparing global internet speeds for the top 50 countries, where does the US rank? first, third, or eighth? Again, another fact that may be helpful in trivia or at a cocktail party, or just to flex a little bit of random knowledge, which is fun.
That's always fun.
The answer is eighth. So as we compare global internet speeds for countries around the world, of the top 50 countries, the United States ranks eighth. All right, so what is the country with the top fastest internet speed? Russia, China, the US, or Singapore?
And it looks like Jennifer has been answering these last few. She said 99% for the other question. Really interested in the answer there. She guessed eighth place for the previous question. So again, very well done, Jennifer.
Hey, you are dominating.
Yes. So she says B, China, for this question.
Okay. The answer is Singapore.
Ooh.
Singapore is the country in the world with the top fastest internet speed. All right. So last question. What is the most popular non-game app on mobile phones? The most popular non-game app on mobile phones. TikTok, Facebook, or Gmail?
Let's see if Jennifer's got a response here.
All right, the answer is TikTok. TikTok is the most popular non-game app on mobile phones. I am curious about how this will change over the next 5 years or so. TikTok is super popular, but we'll see if another app comes to claim the top spot.
That's right.
All right, so that is the end of our trivia game. We thank everyone for participating and playing.
Yes, absolutely. And for those who are watching live or later, we do have a raffle. So we're going to put the names of the people who have commented on this video by Sunday, June 26th, in for a drawing to win a prize. So a great way to comment is to ask a question, which is what we're about to get into next. But before we do that, I would just like to thank each of you for joining us either live or later for this Juneteenth celebration. You can visit us online. This Linktree link has all of our socials as well as our website, so feel free to join us in any of those places. But now we're going to open up the floor for any questions that folks might have here for us today. And I do just want to say Jennifer got the TikTok question correct. So good on you, Jennifer. Fantastic job. And I think we can go ahead and stop the screen share in case folks do have a question or two. So while we're waiting on a question to come in, I would love to ask you, Javon, a question. You were not expecting this, so this is going to be off the cuff.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite memory over these past 2 years being a tech chaplain?
That's a really good question. So Shamika and I meet very regularly, pretty much once a week. And so, and that's been happening since the spring of 2020, like really kind of right after the pandemic. And so really, aside from the work and being able to help people and stretching my imagination and my skill set and things like that, I think the best part has been just getting to hang out with Shamika every week. And we've so many things have happened, in life and, the ups and downs of things. And we've been able to hold space for each other around all of those things, as well as grow with each other professionally. So that's been the best part, the relationship and the friendship, the sisterhood, the connection that has been facilitated by Chaplaincy.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Siobhan. I feel the same way. You've been there since the beginning of the Institute. So I very much appreciate you and all that you help do here. Absolutely. We are still waiting for a question here. So I'm going to invite you, Javon, to ask me a question, put me on the spot. It's only fair.
I think you mentioned it a little bit, but how has the Tech Chaplaincy Institute and the concept of Tech Chaplaincy helped to inform your scholarship and what you're pursuing right now academically?
That is an excellent question. So at the University of Colorado Boulder, I'm studying technology, ethics, and social justice issues in the information science department under Dr. Casey Fiesler. And my approach to my research has very much been to look at the ways Black people are using technology to create, appropriate, and even imagine technologies to survive and thrive. Knowing what I know about the ways that tech chaplaincy has been able to help people has also helped me see from the perspective of how technology is hurting people, which is a huge conversation, has been for a while, even before the techlash. But seeing that technology is harming people, and that's a huge part of the conversation around technology and people of color or marginalized people, that can sometimes slip into a deficit model of thinking about technology. And similar to with the Black Lives Matter movement, it's not just about state-sanctioned violence against Black people, people of color, trans people, etc. It's also about Black joy. It's about celebrating life. To live is to resist. And so for my own scholarship, I want to look at Black joy through technology. I want to find out how Black people, specifically Black women, what they think about the future of technology and how they think, what are their hopes for the future of technology? So being a tech chaplain has helped me put that hat on to see how we can center people in the conversation of technology, and then also how we can look at it from this perspective of instead of a deficit model, an asset model in particular. So that's a fantastic question. I love that question. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah, thank you for answering, and thank you for sharing your brilliance with us in this moment and moving forward as well. Definitely looking forward to continuing to hear about how things go.
Absolutely, thank you. And so what we're going to do is over the next week, we're going to be looking at this live video comments to see who else has commented. You can still ask questions. We will definitely answer them for you in the chat. But we would like to thank everyone for joining us live or later. I would also like to thank Javon for helping run the slides, put this show together, and ask the questions, including the trivia questions. And of course, would love to thank our special guest, Stacey, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Stacey. We really appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to moving forward with you and Learning Forte in the future. So thank you so much. If there's anything else that folks want to know about myself, Javon, Learning Forte, Stacey, or the Tech Chaplaincy Institute, please feel free to leave a question or a comment in the chat here, or you can reach out to us on our website, techchaplain.com, and we'd be happy to answer those questions or concerns that you might have. So once again, happy Juneteenth, happy birthday, Grandma, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.
Thanks, everybody.